All right, guys. Today I'm joined by Mark Davidson, the co-founder and chief creative officer of 1000 Watt, the real estate industry's leading creative agency. Launching in 2007, the agency has grown into a strategic branding powerhouse that we can dive into a little bit more. Mark, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Pleasure to be here.
No, yeah, thanks for coming on. I know when we connected last time, you were telling me a little bit about your journey into the agency life. Would you mind sharing your 2 minute backstory?
Sure, it's likely of no use to anybody, but it's maybe a story of serendipity. I didn't set out to do this. I set out to be a rock star, and I almost got there. Like I had a group, we got signed. We were based in New York, and we had a record out, and we were touring, and I discovered that I hated it. I just didn't like it. I didn't like being on stage. I didn't mind doing it locally. You play, and your friends all come to the show, and I'm from New York City, so our fan base was really a lot of people I knew and hung out with. But once you went on the road, it just a lot of pressure. I like being home, like sleeping in my own bed. Always have, still do. So I quit and finished up my I had left college, so I went back and finished up college. And I ended up getting an offer to join Y&R because one of the senior class projects was to develop an ad campaign and present your ad campaign to a panel of judges, and those judges were agency people from New York. And I thought I'd win only because creativity was shared equally in the class, but I also was a musician, so I was able to write and score the bumper music. So my commercial had music, it had real music. Back then, there were no like stock music libraries or AI that you could just go create a song from. You had to go record it or license something. But I didn't win. In fact, I lost terribly. And one of the judges pulled me aside, and I remember the conversation like yesterday. He asked me if I knew what a budget was. And I said, yeah, I know what a budget is. I have a Jewish mother, but I definitely, he goes, clearly you didn't listen to her because your commercial would have cost your client more than an action movie, a Hollywood, directed and produced Hollywood movie, which I was going for that. But yeah, he was right. I wasn't thinking about budget. And the next thing I know, he was handing me a business card. He said, come up to my office on Monday. I'll introduce you to HR. I'm going to teach you about budget and everything else. And that's how I got into the industry. I always liked advertising. I was always a fan, even as a young kid, drawn in to commercials, the storylines of commercials. I heard the lines of copy. I still am a walking library of like old slogans. I always loved logos. I remember staring at logos and going home and designing logos myself. I designed the logo for our band. So it was all really the right fit. And that's what that set me up to, okay, I can do this. Didn't realize how insanely competitive agency life was and the intense lifestyle burden that it can put on you, an ad guy, the hours, the pressure, the stress. A lot of that really, Chris, shaped my perception of agency life as now as an owner. We work from 9 to 5. There are no weekends. We've never called an all-nighter. If we need to do an all-nighter, we didn't manage the client's expectations properly, and we didn't organize our work process properly. I try to do good work, but I think when I hear powerhouse, my pride and joy is the fact that I can run an agency. I keep people employed. No one's left, and they have a good work-life balance. That's really important, along with doing good creative work.
No one's left. That's impressive.
We've had one girl who I saw something so special in. She was a project manager, and I happened to be working late one day. She was still in the office only because she was meeting friends, so she might as well just stay. We were downtown Portland in the city center. Didn't pay for her to go home, and so I asked her to if I could read some copy that I was writing, and she said, "I can't tell you whether it's good or not." I go, you sit on calls all day long. You're managing all these projects. You're listening. I have a feeling you can. And I had a feeling she could. You're a smart person. So I read her the tagline that I wrote. And her immediate response was, it would be a lot better if you just took off that one word. And it was like a holy shit moment. you do have the ears, you have the eyes. And she made it better. So I groomed her out of being a PM and I turned her into a strategist and a writer. And but it, after 6 years, she said, I want to get my master's degree and I want to have a passion for another type of industry. But we're still friends. We still chit chat all the time. I've made her two offers to come back. But yeah, but that was a clear reason why she left. She wanted to further her career in another field. And but yeah, I think it's important because you work for a client, Chris, and the term past client isn't in our vocabulary. You were a client, and we were doing a campaign, and we're done, and we're done with the scope of work, and there's no more work. You're still a client, even though we're currently on a hiatus. But the goal is to come back here someday, and it's really important to me that when they come back, they see the same exact team of creatives that were there at the beginning. And that happens a lot, and there is a lot of like added sense of trust and loyalty and dependability on us that the team that did their great work 2 years ago is still here about to do the next level great work. So even from an organizational functional standpoint, it's important to keep your people.
That makes a lot of sense. Keep your people, keep your clients.
Keep your people, keep your clients. A company, like in my business, in a way, okay, this is a loose analogy, but in a way I can compare us to a band. If you like Coldplay, I don't know why they just top of mind at the moment. Certainly not one of my favorite, but if you like Coldplay, if Coldplay came out with a punk album, you'd be like, I don't know if I like that. It's not what I expect out of them. And I think agencies do have, as wide as it is, a certain range of, it has a certain identity that it does establish and create in its work. People tell me they can tell when a logo goes live that it was our work. There's a certain signature polish to what we do, maybe, that becomes a fingerprint. And I think that's part of why we get hired. People want that. We don't replicate anything, but there's a level of refinement and tailoring to what we do. There's a rhythm to our writing, and you have your bandmates or your teammates that are part of that. And you lose a singer, you lose a bass player. Black Sabbath lost Ozzy. There's no replacement. It's going to be very different. It also is critical. Like it's an impossible dream to hope for over the career of a company, but we are small. We're only 12 people. Keeping that band together is really critical.
That makes a lot of sense. And it seems like it's been one of your superpowers or your strengths. And Mark, you also mentioned that you pride yourself on an agency of contributed to building an agency that can operate without you 100% of the time. For other agency owners that are listening, what would your piece of advice be to build something like that? How can they try to replicate that success?
It was this was mentorship that I got early on, is to create your path to obsolescence. You don't take that literally because the company needs you, but it needs you to do the thing that only you can do. And it doesn't need you to be involved in things you don't need to be involved in or things that get in the way of like progress. So for any agency owner who starts out, you're likely doing what I did, everything. I was the project manager. I was the strategist. I was the writer, the designer. I was everything. And my business partner was everything. And he was on one account and I was on one account. And we would utilize each other maybe early in the morning or late in the day. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? We would compare our notes. But I was not a good project manager. I'm not the best strategist. I am what I am. And I needed to make sure that my path of growth allowed me to fall into that seat and then figure out how to grow and how to hire to fill in the gaps of our weaknesses. So if you really want to know the secret to why our people don't leave, it's our president. We hired her 6, 7 years ago as a project manager. And once again, I noticed something in her. She was way more than a project manager. And now she's our president. And she maintains the culture. She runs the company. So what do I do? Like, I'm somebody who, I'm a gumball machine. You put a dime in, you get an idea. And sometimes the gumball machine malfunctions. You put a dime in, you get 10 ideas. I can't shut that off. What I figured out over the years is how to self-censor those ideas. I may have 20 ideas, but I'll just give you the 10 that I know are good. I'm not, in my younger days, I would just spit out everything. And then the ratio of good ideas to bad ideas were like 3 good ideas to 18, 17 bad ideas. And I am also able to look at work and immediately know what's right and what's wrong with it. I immediately know, and I can guide the team, focus on this, harp on that, or I think this can be replaced. But what I don't do is I don't tell them what to replace it with. I make them work and find out, find it within themselves, be better, get better, improve until they can't. If they just hit a wall, no, they don't know what to do, then I'll offer a couple of suggestions and ask them to pick one. I don't want to be that guy who's the axe in the fire glass where the axe keeps breaking the glass, popping out to help put out the fire. You break the glass when you need it, otherwise, it's there. And by doing that, I've really helped people discover hidden talents that they have, which is great. But what it's also enabled me to do is if you can discover your hidden talents and get really good at what you do, I don't have to do it. So I no longer have to look at work in the various different stage gates that they hit. When it's ready to be shown to the client, send it to me the night before and I'll just look over it. But I already know this. I may find one or two things, but almost, Chris, like they're immaterial because they're getting it right. And so I am obsolete in all those functionalities that I shouldn't be in anyway. So I can focus on things like vision and growth, client care. I like to talk to our clients, past, present, future, whatever people are thinking about. I, I'm old school. I'd like to pick up a telephone and call in and see how you're doing. Up until a few years ago, at the end of the year, I would get on an airplane for all of December and fly around and visit everybody. Just pop in. Just here, spending the day. Let's go grab lunch. And then I'd hit the airport and I'm like, holy cow, I can't believe it. But dude, that was old school agency client care. That's what you did. That's what account executive's job was. Handhold that client. You want a client forever. I'm still busy every day. Sometimes there is more work than we can handle. So sometimes I will end up being the writer on a project just because
Mm.
we don't want to say no because it's the right project to say yes to. We don't say yes to everything. But that's cool because it keeps me sharp. Obsolescence doesn't mean, where's Mark? Oh, he's on the golf course again. I'm here. I'm a slack away. There are managers on projects, there's a president, there's leads, the lead designer, a creative director, there's people in position of authority. And I think it's beautiful.
I think so too. I think that's what a lot of agency owners strive to build, yet they oftentimes get stuck in the weeds a little bit.
You know what the weed is? The weed is money. Oh, if I have to hire that person, I make less. Yeah, short term, you might make less. That's a selfish approach. That's not good leadership. If you're going to be in business, you're going to be an entrepreneur. By the way, I didn't know any of this going in. I was a guitar player in a band that had a college degree. I didn't know anything about business. I was taught all this. So you make less money. That's not your job is not to make money. The company's job is not to support you. It's to perform as a function to your client base and ensure that the services or products you create are wanted, are in demand, and are the best that they could be. And you know what? The universe will return that favor. I've never gone without. There were, like in COVID, my partner and I, for 8 months, didn't make any money. We just took our salaries off the books, made sure we did not let anybody go. And then lo and behold, we got so much work that year, we had to cut salaries. Everybody got cut. We sat down with everybody and said, look, we don't want to let you go, but there's no business. I'm in the real estate sector. There was a period of time where no one was going out of their home to look and buying other people's houses. So all of our contracts ended, they got put on hold. But I kept everybody. But by the end of the year, we had enough money that had come in that we were able to bonus everybody back their full salary. And my partner and I were able to also distribute money back to us. So we got whole. I guess lucky, or we made our luck, but like you make the decision, you get out of the weeds. You put somebody in the weeds so you could be somewhere outside the weeds cultivating more business. It's really just that simple. And it works. I do all the sales, Brian does all the sales, and Natasha does all the sales. The three of us do sales. So we're still present there.
You mentioned last time, Mark, that you never had any formal sales training. That you
No.
yet you've been able to build such a successful business. Can you chat about your philosophy on agency sales?
Yes, but with the caveat that I had something fortunate that a lot of people don't have. What I first had going for me was I'm from New York City. I think if you're from New York City, you have to know how to talk to people. You have to know how to wiggle your way in and out of situations because every day is a situation. Getting in and out of a crowded subway, train pulls up, there's 500 people that want to board a car that can only handle 50. How do you get to be the one of the 50? There's a lot of pushing and shoving and having an opinion and representing for yourself. So, to a degree, that's sales, but it's not enough. I did study consumer psychology. So, I was fascinated by the inner workings of our brain, how to make people. I wasn't reading books like How to Win Influence or anything like that. I wasn't looking, I just wanted to understand how our brains work. If I'm going to write a line of copy that's going to make you read it twice and want to buy something, I need to understand what is it about words that make you read them. Like there's magic in our language. There's magic in design, and I needed to uncover what that was. I learned how to write by figuring out how to message things that raised interest in people because I know how people tick. The reason why 1000 Watt never had to do sales was because when I sold when I left music and I joined the agency world in Manhattan, I left after a few years to start my own agency. And I went and I represented musical acts. We had a record
Mhm.
label that we were legal and talent management and represented some really cool acts. And when I sold that company in 96, I moved to California, blah, blah, blah. I ended up getting hired as a freelance brand person to build the brand for a real estate media company. And over the 5 years that I did my work for them, I got very well known because my industry is very void of creativity. And so, what I brought to this industry, especially through the exposure of the media company, was a breath of fresh creative air. So, people were like, who's the guy doing that? So, I got very well known. And when I started 1000 Watt, in so far as, okay, I don't want to have one client. What if I had 100 clients? I was already well known. The minute I turned the light on, we had calls coming in. I think the secret to how to land a good client versus a bad client is I can share that. One of my tactics on a sales call is I do a little research on the client and I use my intuition to judge based on what I'm seeing what I think a sacred cow is for that client. I'm not always right, but I'm mostly right in being able to discern, maybe looking at their identity or their logo or their copy or their imagery or the decisions they've made, like on their website, what they've premiered on their website versus what they haven't, that they hold something very special that's not working for them. They don't realize that, but that's why they're coming to me because they need to fix something and they don't know what it is. I feel like I need to know what it is ahead of time and I need to tell them what's not working. So my conversation would be, Chris, hey, thanks for reaching out to 1000 Watt. I have a feeling I know why you contacted us. You filled out a form that says you need identity, story, messaging, but let's dig into a little bit. And I look for a way to critique something that I think is special to see how they handle the critique. If they get very defensive, I'm done. I already know that is a bad signal. They didn't trust their decision to call me. They're hanging on to something that's not working. I know it's not working because I'm looking at it. It's bad. And because I'm a New Yorker, I don't know how to say it's bad without saying it's bad. And so if I get a person on the phone that goes, I know, that's exactly why I'm calling you. I'm like, we're gonna do good work together. If I get somebody who, and the other question I'll ask is, okay, so you're the owner. Do you have a marketing department? Do you have a creative director? Do you have a marketing director? Does that person know you're on the phone with me? If they say no, that's a bad sign. I don't like that. That spooks me. I need that director of marketing to feel empowered to be part of the project, to not get blindsided when we end up on a discovery call because they already signed a contract. And now the marketing director is like, who are these guys? Why are they in my grill? I could do this work. I don't want to do that. I think that's sort of part of a sales technique. But really, like when you're well known and you're the only one that kind of does what you do in a big industry and your work is everywhere, I don't need a sales department. Like we do a little bit of marketing, but the truth is every day we're getting requests and 95% of the time, my partner or I know exactly who that person is. We've met them at it. I've spoken at a million events. I've written over 1,000 articles and blogs. My opinion is everywhere. I think sales, what's marketing today? I don't know. You could go on social media and do some stupid shit, but if it's not showcasing value, if it's not solving the problem your audience has, then you're just vibing on social. You're not marketing. You're not selling value. You're not creating an opportunity for somebody to see their big payoff that they want by hiring you. We only do that. You don't see me making kooky social media videos. I'm not trying to be a character. Maybe it works for some people, but I think for this kind of business, you have to showcase work, case studies, work, interview your clients, get out, get about, speak, write, have an opinion. That was our way of doing it.
It's obviously been successful, so that makes sense. That makes sense. What is the trajectory for the agency in the next couple years? Where are you looking to take it? What are you most excited for?
I'm at the moment not excited about anything. I'm like a lot of people wary. I'm wary. I've seen trends come and go. I've also seen trends come and stay, but evolve as the trend. Like it's important to kind of look at a trend and go, okay, I can see where that's going to go. I can see how that's going to impact me. The advent of AI is, on one hand, it's exciting to just see how far humanity is willing to go to obliterate itself. I think that's interesting and exciting. As somebody who's really interested in humanity and how we think, we are insanely suicidal. Money's more important than a good life. Even though I don't want to use it, I may want to use it for some things. We do a survey with a client. Sometimes you have a very big client, like maybe we'll work with an association of realtors and we'll survey 500 people and get 500 survey results back. In the old days, we had to manually go through it. Now I could just feed that into AI and have it give me a readout. That's wonderful. But I don't want it to do our writing. I don't want it to do our thinking. And I think the temptation is very much alive. And I have to make sure that, so now part of what I have to critique, I have to look at writing that's coming out of my organization and make sure it's human, that it's not a machine didn't write it. So I've had to figure out what all of the typical AI fingerprints are beyond M dashes. Like there are other traits that AI has, the way it over smooths copy, it starts sentences with because, things like that, just to make sure we're not doing that. But I also have to figure out, here's another thing that I think is challenging for agencies. We kind of live in an on-demand world. You go order something from Amazon. If it's not showing up for 2 days, we're not comfortable with that. So in the old days, if you want a logo or an identity, the reality is you might have to spend six figures and it might take 3 months, 3 to 6 months to do an entire full identity system. Who wants to wait 6 months? Like people are impatient. When you decide you need a new logo, you need it now. But that was always, people were always impatient. But now, like you are conditioned to be even more impatient because you can get everything else pretty quickly. So the challenge that I have is like, how do I maintain a competitive edge against people of demand and time, and knowing that there's many agencies that people can go to get work like we do. If you're doing identity work, you don't necessarily need to know my industry. Maybe you need to know one thing, and that is that there are certain styles of identity that is prolific around the industry. So you want to not do that. Like you never want to create a house logo or a key logo or a logo with a roof line because there's millions of them. It gets a lot more important when you're doing brand positioning and strategy and messaging because real estate's got a language of its own and it's been used over and over again and you want to stay away from that. So that's my challenge, is to figure out how do I commandeer AI to help us be more efficient, to deliver work a little bit quicker, and in so doing, maybe reduce my fee, but still manage my revenue and keep all of the people who work here who are paid. So we are doing some things, like we are building our own proprietary custom AI bot. And we have an interesting plan for it that I don't know any other agency is doing. And I'm not going to really divulge what that is because it's not out yet. I don't want to jinx it, but it is rethinking. I'll hint to it though. I think it's fair to say, Chris, that we live in a DIY world today. People want to do more things themselves and they have a lot of tools to DIY. And there are a lot of, I don't know if you've been exposed to this, the concept of personal branding. It's everywhere. It's nonsense. There's no such thing. It's a made up reality. And if I explain to anybody why, they go, yeah, you know what? You're right. What they're talking about is just their image. They've replaced the word brand with image. I suppose we're all entitled to redefine anything we want to redefine. Live and let live. But the truth is, if you're not a brand, you don't reap the benefits of being a brand. So if you're just an image or a reputation, but go around thinking you're a brand, that's great, but you won't have the value of a brand. But if you want to do your personal brand, you want to do it yourself, what if you could have agency level tools in which to actually do it yourself and do it right? If you go to Looka to design your logo, Looka is not designing your logo based on your brand characteristics and attributes, based on your purpose, your promise, your vision. It's just building you a graphic. That's not anything. It's just a nice graphic that looks like AI did it. I can level that reality up for people, but I can also use it internally to help us expedite work. So that's like the hedge I'm making on the future. I'm excited about whether or not it will be good enough to be used. What else am I excited about? I don't know. Not much, man. The world is crazy.
I would love to have you on once the tool's ready, and if it makes sense to go public with it, it would be really cool to do a part two, and we
Sure.
can chat through that and maybe do a demo or something. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. We have a membership. We have people who are members of our company who get special information from our company because we do research, as any good brand agency should. We're researching the marketplace. So we compile every month a lot of data on the real estate customer. What is the temperament, sentiment of buyers and sellers? And then we publish these reports of the survey, and then we produce really cool, creative, actionable marketing that markets to people's fears and concerns and needs and wants. So, like our members, when they're marketing, they're now marketing with information that directly taps into the sort of the public zeitgeist, as opposed to willy nilly marketing, like just putting anything out and just seeing what sticks. It's not how marketing, that's not marketing. When I was a young man at an agency, the marketing department was the research department. The outbound communication department was the advertising department or the communication department. Nowadays, marketing is what people refer to as they call advertising marketing. Marketing is ads. Like that's another slight redefinition, but if your ads are not based on intel, if you're not taking good information in, then what are your ads going out? Who are they addressing? How can I, as a customer, see my need in that content if it's not based on understanding where I'm at? It's a really critical piece of our puzzle. And even though we're small, we don't hire that out. We have a department within our company who, among other things that they do, they are running surveys, putting out questions. We work with an organization to help us get respondents, but we write all the questions ourselves and we put out about a 30-page report that sums up everything that we got back from like, what does this sentiment mean? So that's another interesting angle. If you're an agency and you're only making money from selling agency services, you have all your eggs. Our eggs are already in one basket called the industry we're in. But we have to have compartments within that basket to give the industry who may not be interested in brand work right now, but they maybe be interested in the membership and what that provides. And then we also do an event every year. So we host a big event, we sell tickets, and it does throw out profit, but it's also a good lead gen. It's good branding. At intervals during this, I hear the ocean. out on your end. I am so envious because I am in the 115-degree Arizona desert right now.
Come on over to Honolulu.
Yeah,
Next time we'll do this in person.
I'll be there in November. I'm going to be in Maui in November.
That's right.
I'm
You have.
I'm speaking at an event. Cool. Any other questions?
No, I think getting ready to wrap up here.
Yeah.
Mark, where can people learn more about you or anything that you spoke about today?
1000watt.net, just the number 1000 watt, WATT.net. And that website, we specialize in the real estate sector. So if you think real estate, there's portals, there's mortgage companies, title companies, large brokerages. It's a big space. Builders, house builders. We have clients from every one of those sectors. Some of the biggest names. It shocks me, honestly, that some of our clients are our clients. Like they put their trust in us. They could go anywhere. Don't think for 1 minute that I'm not sitting on a heap of gratitude every day that we are given the trust and the honor to do that work. It drives us to really be as good as we can be. And I study everything. I study every ad, that every new brand element that comes out from any sector of the world. I'm all over it. I have subscriptions. So even though I only operate in one agency, I'm trying to be as educated as I can, and I share it internally with everybody, like what branding is across all sectors. And then my email address should be on my website. And very happy to hear from anybody. Doesn't have to be, I'm sure your audience are colleagues. They're like me. So if anybody wants to just chit chat about the business we're in, I got close to 50 years of wisdom doing this.
Thanks
Thank you,
for spending
Chris.
some time. Yeah,
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to chat.
you're welcome. You're welcome. Chat soon, Mark.